On a crisp September evening in 2025, Winona Fletcher stepped through the gates of Highland Mountain Correctional Center in Alaska. For the first time in 40 years, she was free. The air felt different, the world wider, and every step she took away from the prison was a step into a life she had only dreamed about for decades. Once known as Alaska's youngest convicted female murderer, Winona was now simply a woman facing the unknown. She carried with her the weight of her past, but also a fragile hope for the future. A future she never dared to imagine would be hers. At just 14 years old, Winona became involved in a crime that would forever alter the course of her life and send shockwaves through her small Alaskan community. The tragedy left scars on everyone it touched, and for Winona, it meant growing up behind bars, her childhood lost to the cold reality of incarceration. Sentenced to what was essentially life in prison, Winona was told she would never again see the world beyond those concrete walls. The cell became her world, the routines of prison life her only constant. For years, hope seemed like a distant memory, replaced by the harsh certainty of her sentence. Yet, something inside her refused to give up. Through decades of isolation and regret, Winona found a way to endure. She educated herself, participated in rehabilitation programs, and slowly began to believe that change was possible. Her story, once a cautionary tale, became a symbol of hope and the power of second chances. Her release was not a simple act of mercy, but the result of years of tireless legal battles, advocacy, and a growing movement to reconsider how our justice system treats young offenders. Lawyers, activists, and even former victims' families began to question whether a child should be condemned forever for a mistake made in youth. The court ultimately recognized what science and experience have shown us. Children are fundamentally different from adults. They possess an immense capacity for growth, for learning, and for change. This understanding shifted the conversation from punishment to possibility. Winona's journey, from a lost, frightened girl to a symbol of rehabilitation, challenges us all to rethink what justice should look like. Her story is not just about one woman's freedom, but about the potential for redemption and healing in us all. We are left to ask ourselves, is justice only about punishment, or can it also be about healing, restoration, and the chance to rebuild lives? Can a society be truly just if it does not allow for forgiveness and transformation? This is the story of Winona Fletcher, a journey from darkness to freedom, and a powerful reminder that justice, at its best, is not just about retribution, but about hope, humanity, and the courage to believe in second chances. To understand Winona's release, we must go back to 1985, when a home invasion in Anchorage left 3 people dead. 14-year-old Winona was swept into the tragedy, her involvement sealing her fate. Tried as an adult, she was sentenced to 135 years in prison, a sentence meant to ensure she'd never walk free. The community's pain demanded accountability, and the justice system responded with severity. For a teenager, the reality of such a sentence is unimaginable. Winona's journey through the penal system began in the shadow of this terrible mistake. Her case raises questions about how we treat young offenders and whether such sentences truly serve justice. Her story began with tragedy, but it would not end there. For 40 years, Winona's world was defined by the unchanging routines of prison life. Each day began and ended with the same sounds, the clanging of cell doors, the echo of footsteps in the corridors, and the distant voices of guards. The outside world faded into a distant memory, replaced by the strict schedules and rules that governed every moment of her existence. Time moved slowly, marked by the relentless ticking of the prison clock and the shifting patterns of sunlight through barred windows. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into years, and the passage of time became both her greatest enemy and her only companion. Winona entered prison as a teenager, barely more than a child, and was forced to grow up behind bars. She learned to navigate the complex social world of inmates and guards, finding her way through the challenges of adolescence and adulthood within the confines of prison walls. Over the years, she watched herself change, both physically and emotionally, as she matured in a place few ever leave unchanged. Life inside was harsh and unforgiving. There were moments of deep loneliness and despair, but Winona made a conscious decision not to let her circumstances define her. Instead, she chose to focus on personal growth, seeking out opportunities to better herself even when hope seemed distant. She enrolled in every program available: education classes, vocational training, and counseling sessions. Through these programs, she discovered new interests and talents and gradually became a model inmate, respected by both her peers and the prison staff. Her commitment to rehabilitation became the cornerstone of her story. She spent countless hours reading, reflecting, and writing in her journal, determined to understand herself and her past. This journey of self-discovery was not easy, but it was essential to her transformation. Despite the weight of her sentence and the uncertainty of her future, Winona held on to hope. She found small joys in letters from loved ones, in meaningful work assignments, and in the friendships she formed with other women who shared her struggles. These moments of connection gave her strength to keep moving forward. Meanwhile, the world outside changed in ways she could only imagine. Technology advanced, cities grew, and society moved on, but Winona's life remained confined within the same walls. The contrast between her static existence and the ever-evolving world beyond the fence was a constant reminder of all she had lost, and all she still hoped to regain. Her transformation was quiet, unfolding in the solitude of her cell and the stillness of the prison chapel. Far from the public eye, she wrestled with her past and found a sense of peace that had long eluded her. Those 40 years stand as a testament to both the gravity of her crime and her extraordinary capacity for change. The journey was marked by pain and regret, but also by resilience and hope. In the end, her unwavering commitment to self-improvement and her record of good behavior would play a critical role in opening the door to a new chapter. The support of staff and fellow inmates became a lifeline, helping her believe that redemption was possible. Winona's journey inside prison was not just about survival, it was about transformation. The lessons she learned and the strength she found would set the stage for a remarkable second act, as she finally stepped into the sunlight and began to build a new life beyond the prison walls. For decades, Winona's sentence seemed final, but a national movement began to challenge harsh sentences for juveniles. Advocates argued that children have a greater capacity for change and that life sentences for youth are cruel and unusual. Landmark Supreme Court decisions forced states to reconsider juvenile sentencing. This shift opened a door for Winona's case to be reviewed with new understanding. Her lawyers argued that 40 years of rehabilitation proved she was no longer the same person. The fight for a second look was about more than one woman. It was about justice that balances accountability with redemption. Winona's case became a test of whether society truly believes in second chances. In 2023, the Alaska Court of Appeals issued a decision that changed everything for Winona. Judges were now required to consider youth, immaturity, and potential for rehabilitation in sentencing. Winona's legal team filed for resentencing, arguing her original sentence ignored these factors. The court weighed her crime against 4 decades of transformation. The judge reduced her sentence from 135 years to 60, and with credit for good behavior, Winona became eligible for immediate release. This wasn't a pardon, but a recognition that justice for juveniles must evolve. The decision affirmed that justice should include the possibility of rehabilitation and return to society. Winona's release marked a victory for a more compassionate approach to criminal justice. It proved that the system can adapt and offer hope even after decades. The voices of the victims' families are central to this story. For 40 years, they carried the pain of unimaginable loss. During Winona's resentencing, they submitted a statement that surprised many. They acknowledged the time Winona had served and the accountability she faced. Remarkably, they expressed belief in redemption and the possibility of change. Their words added moral weight to the proceedings, showing that justice can include compassion. Their statement was not about excusing the crime, but about recognizing that after decades, justice can shift from punishment to healing. Their grace opened the door for a different kind of justice, one that honors both memory and the human capacity to change. On September 8, 2025, Winona Fletcher walked out of Highland Mountain Correctional Center, free at last. There were no crowds, just family waiting to embrace her after 40 years. For the first time since her teens, she was simply Winona, not an inmate. The world she entered was unrecognizable. Technology, culture, and life itself had changed. Re-entry after decades in prison is daunting, with practical and emotional challenges. But that first night was about freedom, family, and hope. It marked the end of a long chapter and the beginning of a new one. Winona's release was more than a physical departure. It was a rebirth. Now free, Winona's hopes are simple: to find a job, support herself, and reconnect with family. She wants to care for those who stood by her and rebuild bonds strained by time. The stigma of her past will be a challenge, but she faces it with resilience. Finding work and adjusting to a changed world won't be easy. But Winona is not alone. Her family and supporters believe in her. Her journey is about finding normalcy and purpose in everyday life. She wants to experience the small joys most take for granted. For the first time in decades, her future is hers to shape. Winona Fletcher's journey is more than a news story. It's a lesson in hope and the power of rehabilitation. Her story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of second chances. Her life forces us to ask, is justice only about punishment, or can it also be about reform? Can our justice system evolve to not only hold people accountable, but also to help them rebuild their lives? Winona's story shows that accountability and redemption can coexist. It demonstrates that even those who have made grave mistakes can find a path to redemption if given the opportunity and support. She paid a heavy price, but was also given a chance to change. Her journey through the justice system was not just about serving time, but about finding herself and making amends. Her case is a reminder that justice should balance pain with the possibility of growth. It should be a system that not only punishes, but also heals and nurtures the potential for positive change. Winona's release is a message of hope for anyone who's made mistakes. It tells us that no matter how dark the past, the future can still be bright if we are willing to work towards it. It challenges us to see the humanity in others and to believe in second chances. It encourages us to support those who are trying to turn their lives around and to be part of their journey towards redemption. Her story proves that a person's worst day doesn't have to define their life. It shows that with determination, support, and a chance to make things right, anyone can rewrite their story. Justice can be restorative, and the human spirit can change. It can heal, transform, and inspire us to be better, to do better. Winona's journey inspires us to believe in a better tomorrow, for her and for us all. It is a call to action to create a more compassionate and just world.